Tonight, a quiet story from a river town, long ago, about the one warm night of the year when everyone hangs up a wish. An old woman and her small granddaughter, and a slip of paper. The little girl could not think what to write on. On the warmest, softest night of the summer, when the sky stayed light long after supper, and the air smelled of the river and of warm dust cooling, the whole town came out of its houses to hang up its wishes. It was the one night of the year for it. All that week, every house had been cutting slips of coloured paper, red and blue and green and yellow, and writing a wish on each. And now, in the long blue dusk, they were all walking down toward the river to tie them to the great bamboo, the way the town had done on this night for hundreds of years. Hannah walked between them, holding her grandmother's hand. She was small, and this was the first year she had been let to write her own wish. Always before, grandmother had written one for her, had asked her what she wanted, and made the marks, and let her tie it on. But this year, grandmother had given her a slip of paper of her very own, a soft yellow one, and a little brush, and had said in no particular hurry that Hannah could write whatever she liked on it, whenever she thought of it, any time before they reached the river. Her own wish, in her own hand. And Hannah could not think of a single thing. She held the yellow paper carefully in her two hands as she walked, so as not to crease it. And she thought and thought, and nothing came. A wish seemed to her a very large and important thing, the one wish of the whole year. And she did not want to waste it on something small, and she could not think of anything big enough. And the paper stayed blank and yellow and empty in her hands. The lanterns were coming on along the lane as they walked, one by one, soft and gold in the blue evening. And Hannah looked down at her empty paper and worried, just a little, that she would reach the river with nothing written on it at all. The lane down to the river was full and warm and slow. Little stalls had been set up along both sides, each lit with its own small lantern, and the smell of the festival was everywhere. Sweet things cooking, hot oil, river water, the green smell of cut bamboo. People moved along easily in their summer robes, in no hurry, the children darting and the old ones taking their time, everyone drifting the same way, down toward the water. All along the lane there were places to write your wish, if you hadn't yet. Little tables set with brushes and ink and bowls of paper slips. And Hannah watched the others writing theirs. A boy beside her wrote, in big, sure strokes, that he wished to grow up tall and strong. A young woman wrote something Hannah couldn't see, smiling to herself as she did. An old man wrote a long wish all the way down his slip, careful and slow. Everyone, it seemed to Hannah, knew exactly what they wanted. Their wishes were bright and big and certain, and they tied them up or carried them on toward the river. And Hannah's own paper stayed empty in her hands. She thought she ought to wish for something grand, To be very clever, perhaps, or very pretty, or a wish that would last her whole life long. But none of the big, bright wishes felt like hers when she tried them on, and the trying only made the paper feel emptier than before. Grandmother did not ask her what she was writing. She did not hurry her, or help her, or tell her what to want. She only held Hannah's hand and walked, slow and easy, looking at the lanterns and the stalls and the people with a quiet gladness, as though the walking itself, the warm lane, the gold lights, the whole town out together in the soft dark, were already most of the point. Now and then she pressed Hannah's hand a little, for no reason, just to have it there. And Hannah held her empty paper, and walked, and looked, and waited for her wish to come. Where the lane bent toward the water, there was a quieter place, out of the thick of the crowd, and Grandmother stopped there a moment to rest, and drew Hannah in beside her. She told her, quietly, the way you tell a thing that matters, that she had hung a wish on the great bamboo by this river every year of her life. Every single year. And the very first time, she said, she had been just about Hannah's size, and could not write yet either, and had held her own grandmother's hand on this same lane, in this same lantern light, on a night exactly like this one. Hannah looked up at her. It was hard to think of Grandmother as small, but Grandmother said it had been so, that she had stood where Hannah stood now, with a slip of paper held in her two hands, and an old warm hand holding hers. The same lanterns coming on, the same river smell, the same great bamboo waiting down at the water, with its 1,000 wishes swaying. Her grandmother had brought her, just as her grandmother had been brought, back and back, further than anyone could remember. The town had been coming down to this river on this night, she said, since long before she was born, and would go on coming long after. Every summer, the lanterns, the paper, the bamboo by the water. She did not make a lesson of it. She only told it, looking down the lane at the lights, her hand warm around Hannah's, and then she said it was time they went down to the water, and they went on. But something in it stayed with Hannah as they walked. All those grandmothers and all those small girls, year after year, hand in hand down this same warm lane to this same river. So many of them, going back so far. It was a very large thought, and a warm one, and it did something to the empty paper in her hands that she could not yet have put into words. And then the lane opened out, and there was the river, and there was the great bamboo. It stood on the bank at the water's edge, a single huge stalk of bamboo, cut and raised and taller than the tallest house, and it was hung from the ground to its high green tip with paper. 1,000 wishes and 1,000 more, red and blue and green and gold and white, tied all up and down it and along every branch. so many that the bamboo seemed to be wearing them, dressed head to foot in the whole town's hopes. And the warm night wind came up off the river and moved through it. And all those 1,000 papers lifted and turned and rustled at once. A soft, dry whispering. The sound of all the wishes stirring together. And the lantern light ran gold over them as they moved. Hannah stood and looked up at it. And it was so big, and there were so many, that for a moment she forgot her own empty paper altogether. Out over the dark water the first fireflies were coming out. One, and then another, and then more. Small, cool gold sparks lifting slow off the bank and drifting out across the river, winking on and off, low and unhurried, as though the wishes had sent up little lights of their own. The whole place glowed, soft and gold and alive. The lanterns, the fireflies, the 1,000 swaying papers, the dark shine of the moving water. And the people came down quietly to the foot of the bamboo and reached up and tied their wishes on, here and there, wherever there was room, adding theirs to all the rest, and stood back and looked up, the lantern light on their faces. And here and there among the big, bright wishes, when she looked closely, Hannah saw small ones too, plain wishes, low down where little children had reached, in marks even rougher than her own. One near her, tied low on a branch, wished only for someone's old dog to get well. One wished for noodles for supper. One, in a careful child's hand, wished only that next summer would be as good as this one. None of them were grand in the least, and Hannah, reading them, stopped trying so hard to think of something big, for it turned out a wish did not have to be big at all. It could be small and plain and near, and still be tied up here on the bamboo with all the rest. Grandmother brought Hannah in close to the great bamboo, under the swaying papers, where the rustling was all around them, soft as rain, and the fireflies drifted near. And she let the little girl just stand there a while and be inside it. It was there, standing in under the rustling bamboo, the fireflies drifting close, her grandmother's hand warm in hers, that Hannah knew all at once what she wanted to wish for. It was not a big wish. It was not clever or grand or the kind that is meant to last your whole life. It was only this: the warm lane and the lanterns coming on and the smell of the river and the great bamboo whispering its 1,000 wishes, and grandmother's hand around hers. She wished to have this again, to come back to this river, on this night, next year, and the year after that, and do exactly this, with exactly grandmother, just like this. That was all. That was her whole wish. She knew it was the right one the moment she thought of it. The way you know a thing fits. So she knelt down at the low table by the foot of the bamboo and took up the little brush. Careful, the tip of her tongue between her teeth. and on her soft yellow paper, in her own small, careful marks, she wrote her wish down, slowly, the way grandmother had shown her. And it was hers, in her own hand, at last. Then grandmother lifted her up, because the good places were high, and Hannah reached up into the swaying papers and tied her yellow slip onto a branch of the great bamboo, among all the 1,000 others, knotting it the way grandmother showed her so it would hold. And grandmother tied hers just beside it, her own wish, that she had carried ready all evening on a slip of red. She did not say what hers was, and Hannah did not ask. But the two papers, the yellow and the red, settled side by side on the same branch and lifted and turned together in the warm wind, the way the two of them had come down the lane together. And Hannah thought that was exactly right. They stood back from the bamboo then, the two of them, and looked up at it together. Hannah tried to find her own paper among all the others, and could not. It was in there. She knew just which branch, but it had become one of the 1,000 now. One small yellow slip among all the reds and blues and greens, swaying with the rest, no bigger and no brighter than any other. And she found she did not mind at all that she couldn't pick it out. She liked it better that she couldn't. Her one small wish was up there with everyone's, held in among all of them, part of the whole great rustling bamboo, part of this night, and all the nights before it, and all the ones still to come. The fireflies drifted. The papers whispered. The river went by, dark and slow and patient, the way it had gone by on this night for hundreds of years, and would go by for hundreds more. And Hannah stood in the warm dark with her hand in her grandmother's hand, small and not small, one little girl among the whole town, one warm night among all the warm nights, her yellow wish swaying somewhere up there with all the rest, and she was in no hurry at all for the night to end. Grandmother pressed her hand, just to have it there, and the two of them stayed a while longer by the river, under the 1,000 swaying wishes, in no hurry to go, while the lanterns burned gold, and the fireflies rose, and the great bamboo whispered all its hopes softly over the moving water. The lanterns burning low and gold along the river, the 1,000 wishes swaying on the great bamboo, the yellow slip and the red one turning side by side somewhere up among them, the fireflies rising slow off the dark water, and the old woman and the little girl standing quiet at the river's edge, hand in hand, in no hurry to go, on the warm night that comes round, kind and the same, year after year after year.